Hello once again. My name is Ezra Diana, and I'm presenting the second day of our daily dose videos for this week, week 4, on the laws of Tzedakah. As we mentioned yesterday, this comes through the lens of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed's book, Penine Halacha. What used to be practically was that each community would actually appoint people to distribute the tzedakah. These were known as the Gabbai Tzedakah or the Gabbai Tzedakah in the singular, and they would have sort of a large amount of money at their disposal that people would give to them, and they would distribute it as they felt appropriate. For sure, this was a way that you could really take care of anybody who had any sort of serious financial troubles, and to be able to at least provide them with basic needs. The truth is some communities still have something along these lines, although usually it's for more specific details. But some shuls, for example, have a tzedakah fund, which many of the members pay into, and the shul appoints someone to distribute. However, nowadays let's talk a little bit about how one might give tzedakah, especially if we're not still in this system of the Gabbai Tzedakah. Rabbi Melamed asks the following question, and many of his laws that he lays out are actually in question-answer form. So he asks the following question: who is the type of poor person to whom one needs to give tzedakah? Does it depend on what the person feels like? Meaning, if I feel that I'm poor, does that entitle me to tzedakah? Or are there some sort of set rules or really defined parameters as to what makes someone fall into the status of ani or avyom? Someone who is, again, otherwise struggling financially. So he says anybody who is unable to buy or to purchase things which are basic among the general population in the land which this person lives, that is someone who is considered an ani. He says, however, you can have certain scenarios in which someone almost decides, and it's a little bit more subjective as to how someone poor would be defined. And he says that's because we know there's a famous drasha and really a famous story which accompanies it from the verses that we see in our parsha, where the verse ends, you have to provide the ani with de machsaro asher yachsar lo, which will translate as what he is lacking. But there's a little bit of extra wording there in that verse. And the rabbis therefore told us that based on this, we must provide people that have fallen from a higher level of wealth with the same degree of wealth that they are comfortable with and that they used to have. So even if originally, as the Talmud says, one used to have a horse that they would ride on, and they used to have people running in front of them and calling out, we actually still provide that for them, even though that's not a basic need for the entire population. And in fact, the Talmud tells a story about Hillel the elder, that there was someone who had fallen from their wealth, who was accustomed to such luxuries, and Hillel himself actually went in front of the horse and again ran in front of it. It says the Talmud for 3 mil. A mil was a Roman measure of distance, somewhat close to a kilometer or so. Either which way, the Talmud does say that someone does need to be given the same level of luxury that they had beforehand, so long as they require it. However, Melamed notes that there are a few important details that we have to add. It doesn't just mean that if someone has a house worth millions of dollars and drives fancy cars and then can't afford it, that the community is required to support this person and pay for their fancy car and for everything else. So number one, is that Rabbi Melamed notes if there are other people who don't even have basic needs, of course their needs will come before this person's luxuries. It's only if everybody's basic needs are taken care of that we then look to restore, so to say, the financial needs of this individual who was previously spending a little bit more and was used to a little bit more. The other thing he notes, which is also very important, is that it is upon the community to teach this wealthy person and to really help this wealthy person, or once wealthy person, adjust to the new reality and to the new lifestyle that they have to live. Meaning, the person should be taught that, you don't need to drive such a fancy car, you don't need to have all of those things. And that being the case, hopefully this person or this family will understand that these are not so necessary, and that being the case, once they come to this realization, they no longer feel like they need this, then they will actually, hopefully, not require any of that extra money, and that money can go towards other wonderful causes.